Chibi, Cece, Karen, King Vecna, Sticka, Eponymous. Chibi, cute. I will say, Chibi, cute is not the word that I would use to describe this game. Hey, JP. Hey, Sunshine Granny. Music Box Music, yeah. Hey, Leo Queen. Just give me a second here. Just setting up some stuff for my, for the YouTube. Why won't it let me monetize? Set it to be monetized. Hey, Leo Queen. It's a feels game. Not even. It's a dark game. Hey, Uwu. Emotional one. Kinda. It does get emotional at times. Well, eyes wide shut. It's a AC Mills. It's a creepy game. It's very much a creepy game. Speaking of which, I should mention there is mature content. That Fat Greg. Hi, hope your weekend is going well. Thank you, That Fat Greg. Thank you very much. This game contains disturbing imagery, violence, flashing images, sudden and loud noises, mature themes, and strong sexual content. Viewer discretion is advised. Content warnings for suicide, murder, and abuse. So... yeah, it's not a cute game. Creepy with hot chicks, I can dig it. Thanks for the warnings. Yeah, it's a lot. It's, I wanted to make sure that those, content warnings were, like, I wanted to get those out of the way first, because, yeah, it gets heavy. The game does get heavy. I played this years ago. I honestly don't remember when I played it, but it was a good couple years ago. And, it creeped me out. What is this? It is a visual novel, wiener. Which means a lot of reading for me. Hurrah! Yeah, whatever, girl. Intrigued and scared. I really, like, when I did play it, I really enjoyed it. Much as it creeped me out, I really liked it as well. It's a visual novel, so obviously, like, there's limits to sort of what they're able to do, or, you know, what they do. It's, mostly static images, but some of those static images are messed up. Hey, we got plenty of viewers in here. Actually, before I do go live, just give me 1 second here. Sorry, just wanted to add content warnings to the description. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Toadamps. Hey, Down Under. Yeah, just wanted to very quickly add. Let's see. What did I play? Huh. Well, whenever I played it, saves are gone. Yeah, I wanted to add the content warnings to the description in my to my video description. All right, so let's get going. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. There's no need to explain. It's only natural. A mother loves her daughter more than anything in the world. My poor child. How much did they hurt you this time, How much did you suffer? Did they kick you and wound you when you declined? Did they blame you for being too friendly? Did they laugh at your face when you begged them to stop? Serves you right for being the dirty girl you are. You deserve that pain. Savor it. Rejoice in it. It is your penance. Your punishment for not listening to your mother. I warned you, didn't I? There's no one else who understands you more than me. No one will protect you but me. No one will love you but me. After all, how could anybody love something so monstrous like you? Don't cry, my darling. Shh, it's all right. Even if the whole world wishes you dead, I promise you this. Your mother will always be by your side. Effective yet? My goodness, child, what happened? A girl cowered behind the door of the church, her clothes soaked by the rain. Her legs were covered in dirt and blood. She lifted her head upon hearing the priest's voice and stared at him with blank eyes. Yep, she is a gaslighter. The priest rushed forward to help her up. My child, what happened to you? He ushered her to a pew. Easy now. Lean on my arm. The girl did not speak at all, despite his questions on her welfare. Thankfully, she did not seem to be hurt anywhere else, apart from the deep wound on her leg. But the fear in her glassy eyes were palpable. She flinched every time he touched her. The priest brought out some clean cloth and antiseptic. He wrapped her shivering shoulders in old robes. Hi, deity. Oh, did I say hello, Simone? Hello, Simone, if I didn't say it yet. Did somebody hurt you? Were you attacked? No, beep bap. It's just a robe. Cloth. I think this takes place in, is it France or England? Yeah, it's set in 18th century France, but I'm not going to do accents. Hey, Nettie. Hi, James Wright. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Jody. Yeah, so this is set in 18th century France, I'm not going to try to do accents. Alright? Did somebody hurt you? Were you attacked? You can tell me. We shall call the constable and have them face justice. The girl didn't say anything. It's fine. The priest looked at the dirty, disheveled girl. Even with all the mud and grime smeared across her face, he couldn't deny that she was absolutely beautiful. How old was she? 16? 20? Her face was so young, her eyes captivating. When he realized his own thoughts, he steered his mind toward other matters. You don't have to say anything if you're uncomfortable. No matter what happened, know that you are safe here. Nobody can hurt you anymore. He shook his head, upset at how this young girl seemed to carry bruises too easily, too conveniently. It was obvious that her physical wounds were the least of the damages she carried. May as well ask, volume good? Music? Good volume, you can hear me over it and everything? You can still hear the music, but you can hear me over the music? I'll just ask now, before we get too deep. It is, Beep Bep. It is. He sighed as he finished treating her wound. What could he say to comfort her? I wonder. Would she even believe him? You must think that the world is a cruel place. And it is. It is. One cannot deny the very depths of cruelty we, humans, inflict on each other. But please do not lose hope on the goodness of people. It is there, I promise you. As there are people who harm, there will be people who love. The girl fidgeted. She mumbled to herself, seemed to chew her tongue before she sputtered out the words. God. Will God love me even though I am a sinner? The priest beamed. Of course, my child. He sat closer to her, his heart beating with hope. The years of spiritual training were for this, was it not? For her. To save the wayward sheep caught in the brambles. To care for a dejected soul in need of guidance, protection, and love. Love. What are we but pieces of coal polished to be gems in His grace? God's love is unconditional, enduring, and pure. It is all you need, my darling. It is very much not, Beep. He drew closer. Even if you are hurt, God's love will heal you. God's love will provide. God cannot protect me. What? With this utterance, the priest came to his senses. In his frenzy for gospel, he did not notice his hand on the girl's thigh, planted lazily as if it had been there all this time. Hey, final viewing. What's this? It's a very creepy visual novel. He snatched it away in shock. When did he... The priest stood up. The sudden blood rush made him feel sick. I must be unwell. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Was she apologizing to him or to someone else? Her hair hid her face innocently, but the shadows on its surface made his insides coil as he stared at her. I try, Leah. It is not quite final viewing. You'll see. Trigger? Oh, I put content warnings in the description, Beep Bet, and I like at the start of the video, yeah. Yeah. All the content warnings. It's not pre-recorded. Yes. As far as content warnings go, all the content warnings. Just I'll say it again now. All of them. Every content warning. This feeling. It was fear. I'm sorry. She repeated this phrase over and over. After a while, the priest gathered himself. He wiped sweat off his brow. You are not to be blamed for this. That's fair, Beep. That's fair, Beep. I will... The priest cleared his throat. I will have one of the sisters assist you. In the meantime, please rest. I've never actually read Madame Bovary. With this, the man left. The girl remained seated on the pew, her head bent forward. As the priest's footsteps faded away, the entire church fell into silence. She opened her mouth. No, I know. If I may say my piece, surely... Yes. Yes, Mother. But he is so very kind. So yeah, in this instance, we play the mother. For this moment. Okay, so do we go with the... crazy mother? Or do we go with the kind mother? I'm leaning towards this one, honestly. Evil, evil mother in her head. Abusive mother. Crazy mother, yep. Crazy. Yeah, I think we gotta go crazy. I narratively speak from a narrative standpoint. It's for the narrative, I swear. Hey, Brooke. Haven't you learned your lesson, idiot? You truly are an idiot. Haven't you learned your lesson? You were injured because of your own doing. And you dare tempt fate again? I'm sorry, Mother. I just thought it better to eat and sleep first before I left. Please don't be angry. I only want you to be safe, dearest. We gotta go with... Like, honestly, I think... We gotta go... Sort of... Total gaslighty... Hey, Dandy. Total gaslighty, mom, here. I only want what is best for you, child. Do you believe that? Yes. You saw the way that priest looked at you, didn't you? And still you insist on staying. Where is your head? So follow my words. That is final. Flee and never look back. Glad you're here, Dandy. Yes, Mother. I understand. I shall leave at once. Nice to see you too, Waiting. How am I going to mind you like this? You attract so much misfortune everywhere you go. My poor child. My stupid little girl. I've never heard that song, Cheryl, but if it's about an abusive mother, then that makes sense. Always a blight, aren't you? Whatever will you do without me? I'm sorry, Mother. Thank you for always guiding me. False, Dandy. I don't go on Reddit. It is all my fault. The girl sat in silence. Mother was right, after all. She was always right. Everything was her fault. Her fist shook with a mixture of fear and conviction. She had to do penance. Mother, give me strength. There is something I wish to do. The girl rose from the pew. In front of her was the altar, and on top of the altar was an ornately decorated cross. It was as wide as her head, and the tip of the cross had been crafted such that it was razor sharp. She whispered a prayer, the same one she had taught herself ever since she could speak. I'll pass, Dandy. A prayer of contrition. A prayer of contrition, of penance and sorrow. Lord, have mercy on me, a poor, unfortunate soul. Poor, unfortunate soul. Extend your mercy on my heart, so I may not sin no more. Hey, J-Dot. She knelt in front of the giant cross, staring at the deity's face, contorted in torment and agony. Pain. Pain was good. Pain washed away your sins and made you pure. Don't tell me. You're quite sure you're doing this? The girl's arm trembled ever so slightly. What other way is there for me to atone? She picked up the cross. Oh, my darling daughter. Mother is proud of you. Slowly, she brought the sharp end close to her face. So close that it hovered just above her left eye. And with a final gasp of breath, she... Chapter 1. The Star and the Rose. So yeah, cheerful game, huh? How's that for a dating sim? Yeah, like I said, it's an intense game. A scruffy young girl in tattered clothes peeked through the open gates of Chateau de Sommeil, where an afternoon party was being held. It is disturbing. It's very disturbing. People from high-class estates strolled around the manicured gardens, chatting and laughing. There were beautiful men and women, clad in silk and velvet, their necks adorned with pearls and jewels. Ooh, Halloween store? Nice, J-Dot. A variety of food was displayed on the tables. The girls stared at the exquisitely arranged plates. She hadn't eaten properly for the past few days. We must not linger. We must not linger in this place any longer. I detest it. Surely we can look around for a bit. It's still a little early. There was something else that called to her, other than the party itself. She walked to and fro from the gates, peeking at the crowd. I don't, Brooke. Halloween shirt and leggings, cool. Despite Mother's urgings to leave, the girl dared to stay a little longer. Just a tiny glance would be enough. The girl smiled at the thought of him. the owner of the chateau, the Marquis de Gaulle. Marquis de Gaulle. Hey, Emeralds guys. His charity was well known in town. He was kind to the townspeople, from the lowliest beggar to the common townfolk. Parties of the noble-born were usually private affairs, exclusive to the other nobles. But the Marquis's parties were always open to the public. She would sell roses to the manor sometimes. Whenever the Marquis was around to meet her, he always handed her food and extra coins. But more than that, the fact that the Marquis acknowledged her presence. To a poor and forgotten rose girl like her, it was more than she could ask for. What kind of game is this? It's a really creepy visual novel, J-Dot. There's music, Dandy. Are people not hearing the music? There you go. It's garden party music. This man you're looking for. The rose girl flinched. You are enamored by him? I do not care for him. I wish you would stop ogling some man like a common whore. I just want to see him, Mother. Hi, Fuzzball. What for? What good does his presence do you? He makes me feel that there are still good people in the world, Mother. I thought in French it was Marquis. I thought it was Marquis in French. Marquis? Okay. Marquis then. Daddy? I mean, that's because Matt Walsh sucks. Mother reminds me of my mental health beating me up. Yep. There are no more good people in the world, child. Cynical mother achievement. I just got the cynical mother achievement. Hurrah. I heard it. You had it right? That's what I thought, because it's French. Because it's France. Let's settle it. Marquis? Marquis. Marquis? Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Marquis for French. It's Marquis for French. Marquis for British. So yeah. I googled it, and yeah. Marquis is the British pronunciation, but Marquis is the French pronunciation. No problem, close the door. I mean, like, I've heard both. I've heard both as well. Like, I mean, growing up in Canada, like, I would hear Marquis now and then. Just because, I mean, I'd hear French now and then. So it's just because of the way I grew up, I got to hear the French pronunciation now and then. Yeah, Marquis de Sade, yeah. Okay, what's this game about? It's about a young woman, teen girl, somewhere between 16 and 20. But yeah, it's about a young woman going with a really evil mother. There are no more good people in the world, child. The world has run out of them. All that is left are manipulative souls who appear kind on the outside because they need other people to survive. Ultimately, they only care for themselves. Don't you think I'm a good person, Mother? Of course not. Humans are intrinsically selfish, including you. Why do you think I take great pains to keep you out of trouble? It's because you are like this. This little monster. I'm sorry, Mother. If I have ever caused you any pain, please forgive me. The girl stared at her shoes and looked around for a bit, hoping for a glance before she left. Whenever she was hungry, it seemed her feet always took her here, to him. A habit? Nevertheless, there was no harm in looking. She would never enter the Marquis' world. The Rose Girl searched the crowd. There he was, entertaining his guests in the midst of the party. He turned his eyes in her direction and offered her a nod. Her heart skipped a beat. A light, warm feeling filled her, akin to drinking a cup of hot soup. As he went on to entertain his guests, the Rose Girl smiled to herself, content to take her leave. My, is this creature deaf as well as dumb? Poor thing. Little girl! A voice called out to the Rose Girl. She gasped. Somebody else had noticed her presence. She picked up her feet and scuttered to the exit. No, no, my dear. Poor little creature, don't run away. Charlotte, she stinks. Don't touch her. Come to crash the party, little urchin? You hungry? Her stomach gave a low rumble. She was always hungry, it seemed, no matter how much or how little she ate. Encouraged by the kindness the Marquis had shown her, the girl teetered towards their table. What are you selling? Look at this poor creature. Is she selling roses? These are all ugly ones. But not as appalling as the rags she is covering herself in. Are you trying your best to be this repulsive? Don't be mean, Antoinette. Perhaps it's the commoner fashion. Don't judge. Quite audible? Probably not. Thanks, Missy Moo. I'm looking forward to seeing my mom tomorrow. They laughed while gawking at her and her wares. Oh my, she only has one eye. Ghastly. But strange, isn't it? It's like you can't look away. The other lady nodded her head. Like those freaks at the carnivals, you mean? Exactly. She's darling in her own dirty, monstrous way. Maybe we can keep it. Hello, do you want some bread, urchin? Well, speak up. Maybe her tongue is short. Add that to the list of her sterling qualities. If you want the food, let us hear you speak. Yes, madam. Yes, madame. What? Yes, madame. I would be grateful. One of the ladies clapped in mockery at her reply. Oh, she talks! The ladies handed her the bread, but it was snatched away before her fingers grazed it. Not before you dance for us first. Oh, make her do a handstand. I've seen a street performer do that once. Quite marvelous. Now, I'd like to see that. This party is getting quite boring. Well, come on, little freak. Dance for your food. The girl looked at the beautiful, cruel faces of the women. That look on them. It was familiar. A burning desire to hurt something simply because they could. Before they touched her and hurt her, they had that look burning in their eyes. Aw, look what you did, Claudette. She's shivering like a leaf, poor thing. The lady laughed as she spoke. I didn't do anything. She should be grateful we're even offering her this much. Indeed, Chibi. Indeed. I wish we could kill them all. The girl faltered. Mother, please save me. Mother? Didn't I tell you people are cruel? Haven't I taught you this time and again? People are cruel. Now you see it firsthand. Hey there! A child's voice called out from behind her. It belonged to a girl around 7, with chubby cheeks and a curious look in her eyes. She wore an old blue dress, somewhat patched at the corners, but kept clean and tidy. Hello, Real Ass Jam. She was not rich, but she had an air as if she owned the ground she stood on. Another commoner? This party is absolutely teeming with them. The Marquis loves these things. Maybe I should get myself one too. Do you think it is fashionable abroad, in his birth country, I mean? Persia? No, I heard he was from India. Isn't he a bastard son of a Greek queen? Goodness, that was just a rumor. I could barely pronounce his Christian name, though. He really ought to change it to something more acceptable. Who knows what kind of demons he might attract with such a blasphemous name? Aha! It must be why all these nasty, horrid little creatures flock around him. Demon or not, I'll forgive him if he kisses my hand. The ladies laughed. You cheeky tramp, aren't you shameless? Don't lie, we all know why we're here. The ladies gossiped among themselves, openly ignoring the girl. The young girl took the slighting with a shrug. She approached the table and asserted her presence. What you doing? They don't take a hint, do they? Throw something shiny. It might distract them. Hey, you've been holding that bread for a long time. Aren't you going to give it to her? She pointed at the shabby rose vendor. Why do you care? Do you want the bread for yourself? I know. Maybe you should toss the bread and see if they'll fight for it. The ladies laughed again. The girl's brows furrowed in understanding. Next thing everyone knew, she had swiped the bread from the woman's hand. What? How rude! Horrible, filthy girl, give that back! The girl sniffed the piece of bread and nibbled at the surface. Yummy, it's still warm. She shoved the bread in the urchin's face. The scrumptious scent of bread flooded the rose girl's nose. Lick it. The sugared butter tastes good. No! You devil child! Give that back! The urchin licked it. Sweetness coated her tongue. She stood there, squeezing the taste, wishing it to last. The girl grinned at her, and she couldn't help but grin back. Sorry, here you go. It's all yours. Ugh, disgusting! Like we're going to eat anything that's been in your filthy mouths. Wow, so this is ours now? You ladies are so nice. Cheeky little brat. I'll have you thrown out of this party. I'll have you... A young man strode to the commotion and the ladies curtsied self-consciously. The rose girl's mouth welled up. A sweet, flowery taste filled her tongue, like jasmine tea spiked with wine. The girl swallowed. What a strange effect he had. Ladies? Ladies? Oh, Lord Guillaume. I just came to check in on my lovely guests. Is everything all right? Are you enjoying yourselves? He is handsome. The rose girl cowered behind the little girl. One of the ladies flicked her fan with obvious annoyance. Ghoul! Hello, ghoul! Well, these little beasts have been harassing us. Yes, my lord. We were just minding our own business when this girl swiped the food off our table. Horrible. Simply horrible. The girl stuck out her tongue at them. One of the ladies wailed childishly. See, look at that! It's absolutely monstrous how these children act around adults now. There is no respect, monsieur. I worry for the next generation. Oh, Charlotte, don't cry. We would all breathe a little easier if those children were sent on their way, my lord. Yes, who knows what kind of mischief they might be up to. Oh? What if they're here to steal our jewelry? In fact, I think my pocket watch is missing. No, how unfortunate. It is, monsieur. It's unfortunate how you allow your important guests to be treated this way. Please deal with these vermin. Throw them out now. Oh, my sweet ladies, I am stricken with grief at your misfortunes. Allow me to offer my heartfelt apologies. Unfortunately, this child is, in fact, my important guest today. Meanwhile, you ladies are, sad to say, mere gate crashers. Excuse me? Madame Charlotte of Montpellier? I don't remember sending you an invite. Same for you, Lady Antoinette of Rennes, and Lady Claudette of Lyon. I apologize for my bad French. I'm just gonna, just right now, I apologize for how bad my French is. I don't know how to pronounce French stuff. Most people I invited are huge patrons of music. That is why they are here today. They came to listen to Mademoiselle Catherine Louise Perride. She is the 7-year-old piano prodigy who played for the Queen last summer. The man pointed at the girl busy chewing her half of the bread. Shit-eating grin on this girl. The Rose Girl just stared at the unfolding situation. Well, that's... But I am sure you were aware of that, yes? No matter, I am always happy to see you, ladies. It is my pleasure to have you here. But I hope you don't mind giving some of the food away to my townspeople. That is why I keep my gates open. My servers are instructed to serve anyone who passes by, not just my guests. But, oh, and don't fret, darlings. There will be plenty more food left for you. The ladies reddened in embarrassment. Excuse me. The Marquis walked up to the two girls. The Rose Girl's heart beat so fast it made her dizzy. She had never been this close to him. Her stomach tightened in knots as Mother's voice screamed in her ears to leave. Miss Catherine, your father has been looking for you. It's probably worthwhile, Gabby. It's always worthwhile to learn a new language, but it's also a pain in the ass. I don't know what you mean, Dandy. It is almost time for your performance. The girl looked up at the Marquis and did a little curtsy. My apologies, sire. I didn't mean to cause a clatter. Guillaume chuckled. I saw the whole thing, little miss. You put those ladies in their place. They were being mean to her. Guillaume narrowed his eyes at the quiet girl. She hid behind her basket of roses. I've seen you before, haven't I? The Rose Girl nodded and made a curtsy. I deliver roses to your house sometimes, sire. Yes, I remember. The Rose Girl blushed. I love your roses, by the way. They stay fresh longer than they should. You've tended to them with love. Thank you, sire. Do you have a name, young lady? What's the matter? It is all right. You don't have to force yourself. Let's call her Rosa. Hey! We finally have a name! Rosa. It fits her. I think she forgot her name. Or she lost it. The Marquis nodded. Indeed. Names are quite flimsy things. Are you all right with that, Rosa? Yes. Come on, Rosa. You'll watch me play, right? Her eyes darted from the girl to the Marquis. Oh, Lord Gilly doesn't mind. Gilly. She a ghost? She is not a ghost. Gilly? He's really nice to me and my family. And he helps the people around town, too. He won't throw you out. The Marquis held his right hand in the air as if swearing an oath. I won't. See? Come on, you're invited now. You're my special guest. There's plenty of food inside too, Rosa. Please help yourself. Mark Lawrence? I will use it for my other life. My gaming stream. You're right, I probably should. I totally forgot about it, Mark. The answer is I completely and totally forgot about it. But hello, Mark. Thank you for reminding me. I should write it down somewhere. I should write down... later. Yeah, that's rough, Ghoul. That's always hard times. Thank you, sire. Rosa is coming! Yay! But then Catherine's cheerful face broke into a frown. Actually, the girl looked up to the Marquis. I ran away because I am a bit nervous. Oh? I've only ever played my piano in private gatherings, inside houses and such. Now there's a whole bunch of people. Catherine scratched her head. What if I make a mistake? Papa will be very upset. The Marquis knelt in front of Catherine and patted her shoulders reassuringly. Don't worry, little miss. If you play to touch your audience's hearts, any mistake won't matter. Do you understand? Catherine stared up at him. Not really. The man chuckled. How about this? Imagine everyone in the audience is asleep, except for one. That one special person is listening to you. So perform as if you want to make that person smile. Guillaume held Catherine's clear young eyes in his gaze. Do well, my lady. He gave her hand a little peck. It was covered with sticky sugar and breadcrumbs. Catherine blushed, embarrassed by the state of her fingers. Somebody special. The young man led her to the stage. Are you ready? Yes. Catherine trudged up the wooden podium and walked towards the middle of the stage. The crowd's chatter died down. She curtsied in front of her audience and waved to her father. She sat down in front of the piano, admiring the cream and ebony keys underneath her fingers. Her own piano was broken and beaten. Father had sold his horse for it. The A3 key never played, and the strings would creak when it was cold. But it never failed her. She knew the keys like they were her own fingers. She whispered to the new piano softly, as if coaxing a beautiful, untamed animal. Let's be friends, okay? She saw Rosa at the far end of the podium, watching her diligently. The Marquis settled in his chair in front of the audience. He gave the girl an encouraging nod. A song that would make someone smile, huh? Her face reddened, and she broke into a shy grin. There was a renewed vigor in her blood. She could hear the keys calling out to her. Hi, Mother Hen. It's a very strange visual novel. Somebody special. She placed her fingers on the keys. She began to play. Very pretty. Very pretty. Oh, good night, Ghoul. What's it about? It's hard to explain. And we haven't really gotten to the main plot yet. Gothic romance tale about loss, revenge, and the different faces of love. That's how the Steam page describes it. At the ring of the first few notes, it became apparent to the audience that this girl was exceptional. Hi, Chef Cook. Here was a little girl, barely tall enough to reach the pedals of the piano, playing as if she owned it. There were times she'd miss a note or two, but that didn't matter. She played the song wholeheartedly, and everyone could tell it as so. Her skillful fingers caressed the keys as if she was making a flower crown, carefully weaving the petals. It's getting cold, J. Dot. She knew the correct way to tie the leaves so they wouldn't tear, like all smart little girls did. As the piano sang under her hands, Catherine disappeared right in front of the audience's eyes. She was just a vision, after all, somebody leading them down a dream. A dream of a garden, the springtime, the shade of a tree on a windy day. The couples in the audience tightened their grip on the hands of their partners. Some closed their eyes and let the music saturate their soul. Sweet memories of youth. A first love. The yawn of a newborn. Rose's eyes shone as she stared at Catherine. Her heart was captured by this image of her. A young girl swaying her head to the music, smiling as the notes poured out of her. She couldn't take her eye away from Catherine's glowing face. Was this happiness? Was this love? She looked like she was in love. And she was, wasn't she? In her innocence, she was still in love with life. In love with her family, with her pets, in love with every new discovery. She was full of hope. It was a bittersweet feeling for Rosa. A happy teardrop rolled down her cheek. She wanted to warm herself in that hope if she could. In the audience, Guillaume and Catherine's father sat beside each other. Sire Pieride, your daughter is amazing. She is, isn't she? I mean, pardon my arrogance, my liege. I am a very proud father, you see. No pardon necessary, sire. Has she found a sponsor yet? The Duke of Versailles once spoke to me about it, but we have not made any arrangements. Then I must steal her away as soon as possible. Sire? I'd like to be Catherine's primary sponsor, if that is all right with you. Why, sire! And to further cement my status, that piano she is playing right now, it is hers. I've bought it for her. Francois's eyes widened in astonishment. That is... Francois gulped. That is beyond generous, sire. Guillaume smiled. I'm aware it's quite bold of me to ask you outright, but I felt compelled to grab the opportunity. After all, the Duke might offer you an extravagant piano plated in gold. Mark? I mean, 18th century. That's just how, it's just how they wore spectacles back then. It's just what spectacles were back then. In that case, I have no choice but to humbly concede. What? I'm kidding. The Duke of Versailles is the worst miser you will ever meet. The men chuckled. Of course, I shall be paying for her musical tutoring as required, along with an ample stipend to accommodate your family. You don't have to look so surprised, Monsieur Pieride. Your daughter is a star. Geniuses like her only appear once or twice a century. There is no doubt in my mind that she will succeed. Thank you deeply, my liege. Let me remind you, this generosity isn't without charge. Her tutoring will be done at my house. I want to monitor her progress. Apart from that, I'd very much like Catherine to visit the chateau and play from time to time. Music is one of my true passions. Her presence would benefit my mood tenfold. Of course, sire. That is a small price to pay for all your offers. On the contrary, monsieur. You don't have to decide now. Kindly think about it. Thank you, my lord. Sire Guillaume. After the performance, Catherine and Rosa went to the Marquis' garden to play. Francois and Guillaume lingered on their table, sorting out the details of Catherine's further education. Emily Paride wandered about the crowd, searching for a familiar face. She arrived halfway through Catherine's performance, just in time to gush at her little sister's applause. Unfortunately, she couldn't find her father in the crowd. It is Marisol. It is a visual novel. When she finally caught sight of the back of his head, she approached him hastily. Father, there you are! I've been looking all over for you. Emily stopped as she saw the man her father was talking to. She is pretty. She's a looker. It was none other than the Marquis himself. She is gorgeous. What is visual novel? I mean, basically it's static images, text. You sometimes make choices. It's a story. It's a novel. Like, it's a novel, but visual. She curtsied. My lord, pardon my intrusion. I didn't realize. Text TV game. Exactly. Beautiful, thank you. Guillaume smiled at her kindly. You are free to intrude any time, my lady. What a flirt. Emily smiled back. Just as the rumor said, the Marquis was easy on the eyes. To whom do I owe the pleasure of your acquaintance? This is my eldest daughter, Emily. Pardon me for not introducing her sooner. Charmed. Guillaume offered her a seat. Emily sat down across the man. Well, it seems talent and good looks run in the family. Francois scratched his head. Yes, my daughters are my pride and joy. Thankfully, they both took after their mother. Surely not, Monsieur Paride. I see earnest strength in her eyes. That much she has taken after you. Emily snorted at such cliché words. Her father was clearly basking in the compliments. If this really was the famous Guillaume the rumors talked about, then he wasn't exactly much of a charmer, was he? Okay. Good night, Mother Hen. He was no troubadour, nor was he a poet. She didn't know what all the fuss was about. The ladies in the house she worked for could not seem to stop talking about this man. Admittedly, there was something morbidly curious about the way he looked at people. He came off vague and distracted, seemed incapable to offer words beyond what were expected of him. I'm pleased to have finally met you, sire. I've heard a lot about you on my travels. All good things, I hope. Depends on the tabloid and the day of the week, Emily thought to herself and chuckled. You are a governess, I was told? Where do you work? With the Dimitri household, sire. Ah, yes, I heard you were marrying into the family soon. Oh, father, I told you not to tell anybody yet. Tweety, I'm not trying to do any accents. I didn't. But you know how people talk. Word travels fast. Pardon the comment, then, my lady. Please. Your betrothed is a lucky man, I'm sure. The conversation endured through the afternoon. Small talk about musical composers and their little town, Catherine's musical background, Francois' students, Emily's work. Emily played with her napkin, offering droll opinions on equally droll topics. All throughout the exchange, Emily observed the infamous Marquis de Gaulle. This was him? The audacious, shameless flirt of the royal court? According to rumors, he was able to bed both the widowed Countess of Devonshire and her daughter at the same time, and even had a tumultuous relationship with the Prince of Garnet. He didn't limit himself to royalty, or so the tabloid said. His latest fling was with an English poet, who, they say, almost killed him when he was caught with another man. Or woman. At this point, who knew what was real and what was a blatant lie made up by the newspapers? She had looked forward to meeting him, and here he was, finally, talking about sampling the new bakery's creme brulee. What? Creme brulee isn't sexy? Emily sighed. She couldn't say she was disappointed exactly. The rumors couldn't all be true. But the Marquis was a depressingly normal man. Maybe even boring, Emily ventured. She watched as his gaze flickered across her hair and her nose before lazily trailing away. How infuriating. Any moment now, she thinks. Any moment he will say something coy. Something outrageous. Something shamefully long have Emily fantasized about this. The infamous Marquis Guillaume attempting to woo her, Emily parried, and she, a reasonable woman, would scold him and put him in his place, this shameless flirt whom everyone adored. That would be a small victory for sensible women everywhere. But regrettably, the Marquis was nothing but polite. He did not ogle, he did not touch unnecessarily, no audacious gestures or suggestive winks of the eye. He would not even look at her for more than 2 seconds. Maybe she was not pretty enough to flirt with? Emily bit her lip. She shouldn't be thinking that. But there were also times that he would quietly look into her eyes when the conversation lulled. When the words spoken were without meaning, their eyes would converse further. To Emily, he started to look lonely underneath the facade of caprice. He seemed tired of all the gallivanting, the rumors, and the numerous flings. We are all a little lonely, aren't we? Perhaps even he? He invited the family over to his chateau and commented on how empty the building felt sometimes. Music was his guilty pleasure. It got him through the cold nights, he said with a sad grin. How he wouldn't mind a warm soul to touch. And before she could stop herself, Emily had begun to imagine his lips on her neck, on one of those cold nights. Emily shook her head, trying to erase the thoughts in her mind. Well, the point is that she wanted to turn him down. Like, the lack of flirting upsets Emily because she wanted the chance to turn him down. Beyond that, the JBS. Well, there's always my Mass Effect Let's Play. They were having a perfectly mundane conversation. What is wrong with me? She didn't know where those thoughts came from. Fortunately, her father didn't seem to notice. Miss Emily, your face is flushed. Are you all right? She is, Jada. I'm fine. Just the sun, I suppose. If you'd like, you can rest inside the chateau. I'll have someone attend to you. No, that's not necessary. Papa! Catherine came bounding up to the huddle. Emily sighed gratefully at her sister's distraction. The little girl ran towards Francois, flinging her arms around his torso, chattering happily about gardens and butterflies. A young, ragged girl followed behind her. Emily wasn't sure how old the girl was. Her dirty blonde hair hid the left side of her face. You could just see faint traces of scars peeking through. A surge of motherly affection caught hold of her heart. "Hello there, young lady." The girl looked down at her toes, but smiled shyly back at her. "I see you've made a crown of flowers. You look very pretty." Thank you, miss. Catherine gave it to me." "Sister, this is Rosa. She's really nice. She knows the name of all the flowers in Lord Gilly's garden." "Catherine, there you go again with your silly names." "Sister, help me convince Papa to let Rosa stay with us." "Catherine?" "Papa, please let her stay with us. She doesn't have anywhere to go." "Catherine, that is not very nice. Rosa is a girl. She is not a kitten you can just pluck from the street and take home like you always do. Goodness knows we have all the stray cats of France living in our house." "Yes, I know she's not a kitten. I know she's a girl. But shouldn't we take her home even more so?" Francois sighed. Guillaume chuckled under his breath. "Your daughter has some very unique views, Sir Paride." "Well, Lord Gilly, what do you think?" "Huh?" Guillaume's face lost his casual bystander look. "You're a Marquis. I'm sure my father would follow your orders, right? Shouldn't we take Rosa home?" Guillaume's brows furrowed at being put on the spot so suddenly. He stole a glance at Francois, who gave him an imploring look. It was clearly not the first time this conversation had happened. Guillaume cleared his throat. "Well, I'm sure it's up to your father, since he owns the house." Brooke, I think she's nervous. I think she's supposed to be, like, clutching her chest. Brooke, I think it's, like, sort of like... She's nervous. Your father works hard to clothe and feed you and your sister. And now he would have to do that for Rosa, too. That would be a burden to your father, right? I earn money. The Queen gave me lots last time. Fair. Father said you'd give me lots today, too. Francois blushed furiously. Catherine! Hee! This girl is just shameless. You've given this some thought, I see. Yes, I got it all figured out. Catherine pumped her fists energetically. Ever since Sister moved out to work, nobody minds the house anymore. I have to wash the dishes every time. Ugh. Papa's so busy, he's rarely at home. There's always enough food for me. If Rosa stays, then we can play together. She'll wear Sister's old clothes, and we'll mind the house when both Sister and Father are away. She can wash the dishes sometimes, and I'll wash them sometimes. Guillaume and Francois shared a look. And besides, if it were up to me, I'd have people take one girl home in their house and give her food. Girls don't even eat that much. One time, I ate one whole plate of potatoes and my stomach hurt. If Rosa was there, I wouldn't have eaten so much. Maybe. Guillaume snickered. Francois rubbed his neck in embarrassment. Catherine, please. Father, won't you allow it? Emily patted her father's shoulder, whispering quietly to his ear. I think Catherine needs a friend. She is always alone ever since I left. Taking Rosa in wouldn't be much trouble for us financially, yes? My new work pays better. I'm sure we can manage. Well, about that. Perhaps if Rosa works in my household, it wouldn't be much of a burden to your family, Sir Paride. Wow! Lord Gilly is awesome! Ah! That would be a wonderful gesture, sire. Not at all. It is obvious that Catherine has taken to the girl. And I am always looking for good and honest workers. Rosa, you don't mind taking care of me from now on, do you? Although if she were to stay with us, her situation still worries me, sire. What about her family? Or her friends? The girl was quiet the whole time. She was looking at her toes, or at Catherine. No, Dandy, but I wouldn't mind dressing up as Magenta. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind dressing up as Magenta. I mean, obviously, Chantal would be Riffraff. Right? Like, we all agree. Chantal would be Riffraff, right? We all agree on that part. She's got the look. Rosa, do you have any family, relatives, or friends you stay with? No, sire. My mother died a long time ago. But she guides me always. So please don't be compelled to mind me. No, don't go back to the streets, Rosa. It's September. It's going to be really cold soon. Lord Gilly will even give you work. Stay with us. But Catherine... Francois sighed in surrender. All right. She can stay with us. Papa! But just for tonight. Then we'll see if she wants to stay for longer. But... Francois held her daughter's shoulders. His daughter's shoulders. See here, Catherine. You cannot hold people in their place just because you want them there. Do you understand? If Rosa wants to leave, she may leave. You cannot keep her like an object just because you like her. That is sound advice, Sir, Sire Paride. Yes, Papa, I understand. Rosa, please make yourself comfortable in our home. Thank you. Papa is the best! Catherine turned to Guillaume again. Lord Gilly, don't you think if everyone with a house takes one person home, nobody would freeze in winter? You should make it into a law. They'll obey you because you're a Marquis. And because you're tall. That's true. People obey tall people. People obey anyone who's tall. The taller you are, the more authority you have. That's just science. Guillaume chuckled. Ah, is that why? Well, you're taller than my papa, at least. He'll never be a Marquis. Francois pulled on his daughter's ear with embarrassment. Catherine! Shh, that's enough from you. Guillaume shook his head good-naturedly, his eyes trailing over the Paride family. Emily watched him curiously. That same sadness once again surfaced for the briefest moment. You have a lovely family, sire. I am quite jealous. You make me want to settle down myself someday. He chuckled. Maybe. Emily's heart skipped a beat. Did he look at her when he said that? Was it her imagination? Catherine is a wonderful girl. It is one of the reasons why I am very invested in her. Guillaume knelt down so that he was eye to eye with Catherine. He patted her head. You are a very intelligent and kind-hearted girl, Catherine. You're a star. Someday, I know you will change the world. At least, I'd like to see you try. Well, there's a bit of a tone shift. Mother. Help me. My chest. I can't breathe. Okay, so, very, very brief flashes indicate that give us a hint what happened to her mother. No. Catherine! Chapter 2. La Piqûre. Piqûre? It's funny, is it not? They always leave you. Such is the way of the world. The more you love, the more you lose. Oh, it seems like they'll stay forever, but they never do. I am the only one who stays, my lovely Rose. My love is the only love you need. You are always so weak. Always so loving to people who did not deserve it. I told you to get rid of her, didn't I? I told you to be wary. I knew it from the start, my Rose. She was nothing but selfish. You fought so hard. You never used to fight with me. But now she killed herself. Your sacrifice lost in her selfish ways. I knew she would just cause you pain. I am glad she is dead. It saved me the trouble of delivering you from her clutches. She was poison. I am glad she is gone. Your silence bothers me, child. She was important to me, Mother. I loved her. Mother only laughed as Rosa screamed out her pain. Rosa felt strong arms shake her awake. Rosa! She opened her eyes and was hit by a strange sadness that crushed her. She was dazed for a moment. Why was she so sad? And then she remembered. Her best friend was gone. She was gone. Rosa? How are you feeling? Guillaume sat by her bed, a hand in hers. Rosa didn't realize she had been holding onto it tightly in her fitful sleep. She broke from his gasp and clutched her knees. Rosa? She remained silent. I came to check on you. You went into shock and lost consciousness. I can only imagine how hard it must have been for you to see her. Like that. His words echoed in her brain, yet she did not register much of their meaning. Rosa still refused to speak, and Guillaume fidgeted with his glove. The wake will take place as soon as possible, Rosa. I just wanted to let you know that she is being taken care of. He's hiding something. There was a slight triumph in Mother's voice. He wants to get rid of her body as soon as possible. Don't you see it, child? Tell me you're not falling for this. Rosa was tired. Mother, always the cynic, would say such things. She hated anyone who came close to Rosa's heart. Rosa didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to deal with anything right now. All she wanted to do was wallow in her loneliness. To curl up inside the hole Catherine had left behind and sleep. My child, tell me you see it. Remember the fear in Catherine's eyes in her last days? You have seen it, haven't you? She was mostly hostile. But sometimes, when her sanity returned, she was afraid. Afraid of this man. How well do you even know him, child? I've known him for as long as I knew Catherine, Mother. He is a close friend. I didn't ask how long you've known him, but how well. Beyond the mask that he displays in public view, do you even know his past? Do you even know any of his ambitions or secrets? He was always a private man, Mother. Think back, child. Isn't it curious how all his past relationships have ended in disaster? Everything he touches crumbles. That is not enough to accuse him of anything. Hey, Zooms. You idiot! He is different. He does not belong. You have felt it too, haven't you? Rosa looked at Guillaume with new eyes now. A hint of doubt slithered out beneath her sadness. Rosa wanted something to blame, a cask for all her regrets. Guillaume seemed like the perfect candidate, didn't he? Yes, you're finally seeing it. Open your eyes, child. It made sense. Guillaume and Catherine's relationship began to pewter off into the coldness right before she died. Her mental instability only served to compound the fracture in their relationship. Perhaps Guillaume was tired of her and had killed her off for convenience? Or perhaps Catherine, in her psychotic state, killed herself to spite him? Rosa? Are you okay? You've been mumbling. Rosa stared at the man beside her. He is not to be trusted, child. He is a demon. Guillaume returned Rosa's angry stare with a resolute look. I know you must hate me, Rosa. I am aware that I only aggravated Catherine's condition with my presence. I know the feeling when I am not wanted. He stood up, a hard yet kind look on his face. Just remember that I will always be here for you. As much as I was there for Catherine, even though she spat me out. Rosa bit her lip. When Catherine had refused to eat, it had been Guillaume who fed her and attended to her. Despite Catherine hurling abuse at him, he had tried to care for the sick woman himself. Lies! All lies! Icky? It's an unsettling game, Icky. Keeping up appearances. Then what is it that he has done, Mother? Catherine committed suicide. It was not by his hand that she died. Are you just going to leave it at that? Look at his face and tell me you trust him wholeheartedly. Rosa tried to search for the answer in Guillaume's eyes. But, as always, his face betrayed only few emotions. You're not blocked, A+. I don't know. Mother was screaming now. He killed her! I am sure he did! And you're letting him get away with it! Please, my head hurts. And you say you loved her. You never loved her, you selfish child. I've always known you were this selfish. You're a monster. Stop! You throw people away. Didn't you throw me away when I inconvenienced you? Admit it. You were secretly relieved I died. No, stop it! She screamed back at that last voice. Her mouth quivered. Guillaume stared at Rosa in shock. The outburst had accidentally come out aloud. It pulled a plug that kept the tears from pouring out. Now her vision clouded, and she blinked them away again and again. I have not A+. Brooke, it gets creepier, don't worry. She was not sobbing. She did not even realize her face was wet. Guillaume and Rosa stared at each other, both kindred in their sorrow. He knelt down by Rosa's bed and wiped her tears with his hand. He did not say anything while doing this, and Rosa stared blankly ahead. It almost stunned her how many tears a person's eyes could carry. I loved her too, Rosa. He said it after a while. I know what you're feeling. She didn't know if it was her own or if Mother's anger influenced her, but her chest heaved. She balled up her fist so tightly that her fingernails hurt. Shut up. She spat, and the man recoiled at the uncharacteristic bitterness of her words. Catherine was afraid of you in her last days. You did something to her. I know it. She could feel Mother inside her head, building up her anger. He has to be punished. You are to blame. He has to atone. I know you are guilty. He must pay. Guillaume stared at her, dumbfounded for a few seconds. But the man didn't try to appease her. He only stepped closer to Rosa, wrapping his arms around the hysterical girl. Let go of me! I hate you! Let me go! But Guillaume didn't. If you need something to hate, then I'll accept your hate. But you must accept my comfort too. I need you too right now, Rosa. You are the only one who loved her as much as I did. Guillaume's words brought back Catherine in Rosa's mind. Almost at once, the anger was replaced with a sadness so heavy she couldn't breathe. Why was she so angry again? She was focusing on anger instead of pain. It was easier. The real tears came, all for the loss of the girl they both loved. Tomorrow was not going to come. There was only right now, the loss, and two friends mourning a loved one. Rosa cried until she thought she wouldn't be able to stop, and Guillaume quietly held her. Slowly, her weeping began to subside into sobs, and only then did he speak again. Stay in the chateau, Rosa. I know you are thinking of leaving now that Catherine is gone, but I can't let you wander the streets again. I will take care of you. It's what Catherine would have wanted. Like a spell being broken, these words brought back her anger. How could you possibly know what Catherine wants? She pushed his arms away from her. She's dead. Guillaume's mouth pursed, and he stepped away. I want you to go. Please leave me. Guillaume sighed and closed his eyes. I understand. He turned on his heels and left without another word. Hours seemed like minutes to her. She would fall asleep and awaken in unfit intervals, so often that she had lost the exact time. Awake, she would stare at a part of the wall with no coherent thoughts forming in her mind. One would think mourning was an activity spent in depressive frenzy. All the reasons to grieve are yours, after all. She could wail now, if she wanted. She could pull on her hair, curse the skies. She could reminisce the past, admire the frailty of human lives. Unfortunately, it was something less poetic. Pain was simple. It was clean. It was a well-sharpened knife that sliced through the heart in one stroke. No blood, no mess. Empty. When tears were spent, when you have exhausted your grief, in place of pain, there would be nothing. The pain might call out, grating, nagging, constantly picking at fresh wounds. But as time passes, the hole would get bigger, darker, deeper. Soon, there would be nothing left. Soon, it would be hard to find where the hollowness ended and where you began. Rosa slept all day. The sun had gone down twice before she shifted from her bed. She stood up slowly, deliberately, with a purpose. My child, you know I hurt when you're hurt. Already a surge of power flowed within her, fueled by her grief. The power filled her up, and there was so much emptiness inside that the energy saturated her whole body. Purpose was always a balm for grief. Mother, tell me what to do. Retribution. Hi, Lady Elaine. Start with his guilt, child. Uncover his lies. Crush his mask. He must pay for everything he has done. Rosa didn't speak, but she started to form the words in her mind, feeling them in her bones, giving life to every thought. She took a small knife and carved a symbol on her floor. It didn't need much, a guilt spell. It didn't aim to punish, it only aimed to inform. She needed to know how much guilt the man carried, and the source of such guilt. If the guilt was concrete and came from a direct action, then she would know Guillaume did something to Catherine. It had been a while since she had used her magic. It used to be the only way she could protect herself from the world. Hi, Pinochet. Mother had taught her, and now Mother guided her as she cast her spell. She needed a possession of the man. Rosa opted for his voice, still fresh from memory. She focused on the last conversation they shared. If you need something to hate, I will take care of you. I need you. His words made Rosa feel distress and confusion. Always it was this way with him. The feeling wasn't foreign. It had been there for years. I will always be here for you. Rosa felt a violent force upturn her stomach. It was that horrid lurch just before vomiting. You failed! The spell collapsed in her brain. Focus, idiot child, or you'll lose your chance. Rosa tried again. Of sorts, Lady Elaine Fairchild. It is a visual novel, which is a type of game. This time, she focused on Guillaume's eyes. Cold, like flints of steel. Dark and fathomless. No grief except, perhaps, for the situation. No Catherine. No pain of loss. This didn't matter to her. Their relationship was dying anyway. Where was his guilt? Rosa dug deeper. She increased the chanting on her lips. No torment, no uncertainty, no guilt. Did the spell fail again? She searched once more and found nothing. There was no guilt in Guillaume's eyes. She could stop the spell now, knowing that he was innocent. If the spell had worked, then Guillaume was blameless. But this absence was most distressing. Rosa desperately pushed her mind further, almost wishing there were traces hiding beyond her reach. Guilt should be present in any loss, no matter how little. Don't we blame ourselves for our own loss? Don't we hate ourselves and punish ourselves, even if it wasn't our fault? It didn't have to be real, but we need guilt to feel pain. But Guillaume didn't have a sliver of guilt. The vicious pain took hold of her again, squeezing her stomach with murderous intent. The pain was so great, Rosa wasn't sure if the spell had failed or succeeded. Something is wrong. Before Rosa could agree with Mother, she felt a sharp pain in her throat. Rosa clutched her neck. A sharp, jagged lump blocked her breathing. It crawled up her windpipe, tearing the soft walls as it moved about. Rosa fell to her knees and gagged. Mother remained calm, unaffected by Rosa's distress. Finally, she opened her mouth and forced the vile thing out. She kept her eyes shut, afraid to look at whatever had come out of her. But the choking feeling gripped her, and she puked again. She spat after she vomited. Her spit felt thick in her mouth. Rosa panted. The gruesome effect had finally stopped. Something on the floor reflected light. She reached out with her hand, and the prick of something sharp made her recoil. Rosa picked them up with shaking hands. Needles. In her palms were a handful of long, metal needles. Rosa examined them with a horrified kind of curiosity. She stuck one in her thumb, and it drew blood. They were real. They had materialized in her throat while casting the spell on Guillaume. Rosa wiped her mouth. There was something wrong with him. Something potent and dark. Or could it be that she had botched the spell horribly? She had pushed her limits this time. She had gone too far. But still, a tugging concern was forming. It was as real as the metal needles in her hand. Rosa tried to stand up on her feet, but she was exhausted. Her knees failed her, and she crumpled on the floor like a rag. We must get to the bottom of this. Are you quite all right, my darling? Now you see it too. There is a sinister force at work. Get up. We have a lot of work to do. We must find out what he is and stop him. Rosa stared at the needles in her hand. Who are you really, Guillaume? Creepy enough for anybody yet? Chapter 3. Portraits. Candlelit. Told you the game got creepy. Rosa entered the room with a tray of pastries and a pot of tea. She finished her duties early and was allowed a bit of free time. She thought of accompanying Catherine for today's piano lesson. Kath, do you want some tea? The girl didn't look her way. She continued to churn out the bitter, melancholic sound from her piano. Rosa sighed. She placed the food on the table. She sat on the stool beside the piano, twiddling her thumbs while her friend continued to stew in her foul mood. Fair enough, Brooke. Is that a new composition? It sounds nice. You've been making a new piece every day, it seems. It's a shame they're all so sad. Catherine didn't reply to that, but when she spoke again, her words were bitter. I saw them again, those degenerate louts. No shame at all. Kath, at least have the decency to close the door. Sometimes I think they want to get caught. When I walked in on them this morning, eating each other's faces, they had this look on them, like they were daring me to say something. What, do they want my applause? Very nice technique, sire. I very much like the way you swap your spit with my sister. Great tongue action. Très merveilleux, merveilleux. And he even has the gall to speak to me? Be a dear and put them on the table, Catherine, he even said. Arg! He wanted me to get annoyed. I just know it. Well, I sure as hell am. Catherine turned to the tea and pastries, stuffing the buttered bread into her mouth. Easy there. These damn things. These damn delicious things! She said the last part angrily, as if she blamed her troubles on the food's relish. Rosa giggled in spite of herself. Catherine wiped her mouth in mock anger. What are you laughing at, wench? It's comical to watch you eat when you're angry, Kath. You're like the giant monsters that attack defenseless towns in horror books. Oh, yes? Catherine made sad, tiny squeals as she picked up another piece of bread. No, no, please spare us! She adjusted her voice and boomed out a roar. The Catherinian monster of the deep doesn't show mercy to anyone. She dropped it in her mouth and chewed savagely. Yum! Annihilation is delicious with tea. The two girls giggled. Catherine's rare smile turned into a rueful laugh. Soon, Rosa felt her mood turning somber again. What happened anyway? Aren't you annoyed by it too? Sister has changed ever since she started staying at the chateau. Now it's all Guillaume this, Guillaume that. As if she wasn't already married. Ugh. She doesn't even care that people are talking behind her back. I'm tired of running around picking fights with gossipers. She hasn't even visited home for a long time. Father misses her a lot. He always asks about her. Father had worked so hard all these years to give us a comfortable life. Now he is sick and all she cares about is that dastardly Marquis. Rosa shrugged. I am a little bit annoyed, but I guess I've gotten used to it. Their lives are their own, Kath, no matter how messy. She didn't dare divulge more than that to Catherine, but it was partially true. I like Guillaume. He's a good friend. But I love my sister. If they want to stay together, then why not fix this and have at it? But what irritates me to my damn snatch is the way they are with each other. Catherine recently found the use of expletives endearing in her speech. Rosa hoped it was a phase. They are miserable. Any half-wit can see that. Yes. I've told Emily time and again to smarten up. She's hurting a lot of people, including herself. But as if she would listen to her 16-year-old brat of a sister, Even Guillaume is depressed, I can tell. Remember when he used to come here in the piano room to have tea? Or when we would hold spontaneous picnics in the afternoon? We used to run around chasing rabbits in the garden. You ran around. We just watched you get dirty, actually. That is very true, you chumps. Back then, it used to be fun visiting the chateau. Nowadays, we barely even see him. He just stays in his bureau all day, brooding. Is it something adults subject themselves to, like a torture ritual? Hi, Lusty. I really don't understand why two people who are clearly unhappy keep at it. Rosa did understand. At least some part of her did. She couldn't exactly explain how pain and love worked. All she knew was that it had something to do with an absurd, obsessive amount of hope. She felt Mother tugging at her mind. She loved Mother so much. Living with the Paride family gave her ample comparison to her former life. She had finally accepted that Mother was cruel. Hey, situation type deal. Yeah, it is a visual novel. And hey, Tweety, feel free to not watch me. And yet, Mother still gave her love and kept her from wanting. Was that crazy? Perhaps it was the only love she needed. Perhaps it was what she deserved. Rosa shook the thoughts off her mind and just shrugged. I know you were worried about your sister, Kath, but they will figure it out. Humans have the ability to learn from their mistakes. As their loved ones, all we can really do is be patient with them and remind them we're still here. Look at you, all profound and such. You read any smart books lately? Just the riveting account of the Ugly Duckling and Baa Black Sheep. Ah, the classics. I don't know how you put up with books, though. I get bored easily. In order to write, I have to learn how to read first. I want to write. Why would you want to do a dastardly thing like writing? Why would you want to hit some crazy strings until your fingers bleed? The two friends laughed again. I want to remember things. I want to write them down. But most of all, I want to feel the way you do when you play the piano, Kath. Oh? The way you look when you play, your passion and bliss in musical form. It feels like love, like magic. You inspire me to do something fulfilling and grand. Well, I'm sure you will. Hey, why not write a play one day? Oh, let's do it. You write an amazing play, and I shall provide the music. We'll travel around the country and perform. We'll make lots and lots of money and gain lots of followers. We shall be known as the Parade Caravan of Wonders. Parade? Are you sure? Pun to the best. Trust me. That sounds darn batty, Kathy. Ugh. From this day forward, nobody is allowed to call me Kathy ever again. The sound of a knock interrupted their giggles. Catherine, it's me. I need to discuss something important with you. Catherine pouted at the sound of her sister's voice. She turned back to her piano and pounded a sarcastically happy tune. Rosa stood up to open the door. Hello, Rosa. Madam. Ooh. Got a pale goth look going on. Sexy. She had seen little of the older Perrite sister recently, and it astounded her how old she had begun to look. Her once radiant face looked tired and harrowed, almost crone-like. Huge bags hung underneath her eyes. And yet she still looked quite dignified, full of pride and pomp. There was extra rouge on her skin, and her demeanor was elegant. It was as if pride was her only source of nourishment these days. "Do you mind giving Catherine and me a moment of privacy?" Rosa gave a small bow. "Of course not, madame." Rosa gathered her nursery books and squeezed Catherine's shoulder before stepping out of the room. Rosa entered the quiet room of the library. She was about to approach the table when she noticed Guillaume already occupying a seat. He was writing something in a book, somewhat immersed in the activity. Rosa stopped dead in her tracks. Feel free to bugger off, Tweety. Just go in and ignore him, child. Why are you so nervous anyway? Just ignore him. He doesn't seem to notice you. Unfortunately, Guillaume lifted his head and saw her by the door. "Oh, hello, Rosa." Rosa took a step back. Maybe it was best to walk away as if this were a mistake. But wouldn't that be rude? He had already seen her after all. But she had never been alone with him. It was just too awkward. Hey, so, you know what topic I'm not talking about in this stream? Take a guess what topic I'm not going to talk about in this stream while I'm playing a game. This game is what I want to talk about. So bugger off, anyone who wants to talk about other shit. Anyone who wants to talk about my roommate. Hello, Aunt Janet. Well, why not just go in? It was going to be fine. They had conversed normally before. But that was because she would hide behind the more assertive Catherine. Now I look like an idiot. Guillaume watched her pace in front of the door in amusement. Rosa decided to go in. She had already embarrassed herself enough anyway. There was little left to lose. Besides, there was nowhere else to go in this big house. She had gotten lost in its hallways too many times, much to the annoyance of the maitre d'. The library was her favorite place. If she stayed quietly in one corner, Rosa was sure they wouldn't bother each other. She took a seat at the farthest corner of the table and opened her book. Oh no, he's actually standing up and walking over. No, you horrible man, just sit over there while I sit over here. Guillaume was already beside her, peeking at what she was reading. A cold sweat spread on her scalp. Rosa, that book. Rosa began to chatter nervously. I know it's a children's book, sire. I'm teaching myself to read. I know most commoners don't really bother, but I want to learn. So please don't laugh or mock me. Guillaume pointed to the book. It is upside down. Rosa stared at it. The ducks in the picture had their feet up in the air. Rosa squirmed, feeling the heat on her cheeks. I'm sorry. Guillaume's face lost its cheer. What do you need my forgiveness for? My plans for tomorrow? Go see my mom. I'm gonna go see my mom tomorrow. Barbara, yes. It's skipping around in time a little bit. So yeah, we got a glimpse of the future after Catherine's death. Now it's gone back to the past when Catherine was 16, and yeah. Christ. Whole fucking chat. This whole fucking time. Christ. Rosa looked up at Guillaume. His eyes lacked the gentle glint they usually had. It was such a subtle change, something felt rather than observed. She thought he would reprimand her further. Instead, he sat down beside her, drumming his fingers on his cheek as he watched her wordlessly. Well? Weren't you going to read? We already got a pumpkin situation. We'll need to, we'll need to carve it soon. Harlan, you like the new game? Well, I'm glad at least I'm glad somebody's enjoying this game. Grandparents? Nice. What was wrong with him today? He didn't seem like himself. Had he eaten something bad? The aura he exuded was not his usual friendly warmth. Yet, it wasn't particularly wicked. The look on his face just read, slightly and eternally miffed. Rosa turned the book upright and read the words out loud. Want ya... That is the U with the short sound. It is pronounced like this. Guillaume made the sound, his face still in his lazy stare. Rosa nodded and continued. Her nerves were frazzled, but she was actually at ease in his presence. She felt like a child being taught by a parent. The parent was strict, but still caring. And the child was jumpy, but eager to learn and please. Most of all, he would not hurt her for her mistakes. Rosa was almost sure. I would imagine it, Icky. Chibi? Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it too. I do like this story. It's a really well told story, I think. They're lived. The past tense of live. Why do we change it? It is a rule of grammar that... Grammar? Guillaume narrowed his eyes at her. Do you even know your alphabet? Rosa shook her head. You should start there. Guillaume rose from his chair and disappeared amongst the shelves. He left behind an old, thick book covered in green felt. This was what he had been writing in earlier. It looked tattered and worn. The pages lay thick on its side that the book didn't close properly. Rosa reached out to peek at the cover when, You are not to touch that! Rosa's whole body froze at the sound of Guillaume's warning. Guillaume's stare followed her as she whispered numerous apologies under her breath. I'm sorry. Guillaume just rolled his eyes. Must you always ask forgiveness for everything? It is quite irritating. No! Don't, Guillaume! No! Situation, I am not. But no, Guillaume, never chastise somebody for apologizing. Because their immediate reaction is going to be to apologize. Brooke, yes. Tweety and Hijaba. Honestly, because I just got tired of those two. Honestly, like, that Hijaba the Hutt, like, it's just the entire goddamn stream. And it's just like, I'm not talking about that. In Tweety's case, is just that he's just being, or they're just being obnoxious. Just, like, shitting on Chantal the whole time. To like, Christ, feel free to not watch me. And with Hijaba, I just got fed up with... Like, I'm not talking about that shit tonight. I'm playing a goddamn game. Like, I'm playing a goddamn game here. I'm not Joe Drawer. I'm certain... His hand struck the table in front of Rosa. In the quiet library, the sound rang uncomfortably in her ear. That is why you do not call someone out on apologizing too much. When she looked up, Guillaume's face was looming severely above hers. He moved closer to her, his eyes fixed on her intensely. Rosa's mouth hung open. She struggled to say something, but her wits were like the burning ends of a matchstick. Before she could compose herself, she felt Guillaume's hand lift her chin. Rosa's heart thumped loudly inside her chest. Please don't. Not you two. She felt his breath on her face, and her heart sank into despair. Mother's voice resounded in her head. In the end, they are all the same. He is like everyone else. There are no more good people left in this world, child. She shut her eye and prepared herself for the worst, like she always did when... Then she felt her face being turned from side to side. She opened her face to see Guillaume studying her face like a textbook. You are a fairly attractive girl, yet you carry yourself as if it is a blight. He lifted the hair that hid her damaged eye. Rosa clenched her teeth. Is it because you were hurt before? He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was stating that the sky was blue. Rosa recoiled from his touch. No, I did that to myself. I wasn't talking about your eye. He placed a book on the table. It was a thin pamphlet filled with letters. There were lines on the book that instructed the user to trace the letters with their quill. Rosa wanted to focus on it, but she could feel the truth in the Marquis' words stinging her. It was the way you went limp when I touched you. Next time, I advise you to fight back. If you don't want to be touched, then you don't have to be. But I am weak. Says who? His eyes were humorless. The world cares not for people who think of themselves as victims, Rosa. If you need power, then be powerful. Push back. Fight back. Struggle. If you end up crushing things along the way, so be it. Rosa flinched under the weight of his stare. She realized that the polite and courteous Guillaume was but a facet. It was still him, but it was nothing but an oil paint portrait, an artwork of his devising. Synthetic, aloof, and irrelevant. It couldn't capture his essence in a few human strokes. Suddenly, Rosa realized he was powerful. Who are you? She caught herself before saying it aloud. You are not Guillaume. And yet, he spoke as if he knew what it was like to hurt and to fear. If you don't start acting like you own yourself, then people will not hesitate to take everything. He laid out the rest of the books he had brought out. One was an activity book for children. It had a picture of a child holding an apple with an arrow stuck in it. Another was a book of limericks. The other two were thicker books that intimidated her. She would come to know them as Hamlet and Paradise Lost. But the one that caught her eye was an ornately designed book. It had a beautiful red jacket, with delicate gold trimmings lining the corners. The Gods and Goddesses of Roman Mythology. I did not situation. This was a free-to-play game. Which is a big part, a big part of why I got it is because it was a free-to-play game. But even if I had paid money, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. It's a really well-told story, I think. Hi, Frosty. This would be her favorite book, her treasure, and she knew it like love at first sight. These books are yours. Take them with you. Read the thin ones first, and then gradually build your vocabulary with the thicker ones. The big books may look intimidating, but give it time. Soon your reading scope will be limitless. Rosa ran her hands over the skin of the red book. She opened the cover gingerly, as if unwrapping a present. Thank you. No thanks needed. You are still so generous, even when you were like this. Like what? That. What? Somewhat grumpy? Guillaume didn't reply, leaving an awkward silence lingering between them. Then, he gave a giant laugh that made Rosa jump out of her skin. I do look like a grump, don't I? Are you okay? Is it because of Emily? Guillaume's eyes drifted away. No, I have always been like this. That's not true. You're nice and friendly, usually. Especially with Catherine and the townsfolk. That's nothing. It's easy for me to adapt to people, especially to the ones I like. Rosa furrowed her brow. Brooke? No, gonna continue with this game next week. Adapt? What a strange word to use. Guillaume looked at Rosa as if he had just become aware of her presence. Makes me wonder why I am so stern with you. You're right. I'm not usually like this. I'm sorry. Rosa shook her head. I somehow prefer this side of you. Guillaume tilted his head to the side with amusement. He brought out the green book that Rosa noticed earlier. This is called a journal. When you learn to write, start one. What is it? Something you can use to remember yourself when you've forgotten. Does it work? It used to. Nowadays, not anymore. Oh. The act itself is the only thing I remember. Now, let's start with your vowels. A scream pierced the halls of the chateau. It was Catherine. Guillaume sprinted to the door with Rosa not... I played it last week, J-Dot. Back in the piano room, Catherine took a shaky step towards her sister. She wasn't moving at all. I didn't... It was an accident. Emily? It was a nasty fall. Emily. Catherine saw the way her sister's head snapped back as it collided with the sharp corner of the piano. She watched it all like a series of photographs in her head. She had to check on her, right? She had to touch her and shake her awake. Make sure she was okay. So there you go. So that's this type of game. That's the story that's being told here. But her feet refused to move. Instead, she retreated into a corner. She didn't even notice her legs were moving until her forehead touched the wall. She didn't want to turn around. Her sister laid on the floor, her eyes open, unblinking. It was an accident. It was nothing but an accident. Was it? She pushed first. She got really scary. She strangled me. What? That's absurd. Are you sure? Would she do that? I don't know. I think she did. Catherine touched her throat. It felt fine. That Paride girl, Emily, is it? She really believes just because the Marquis took her in that he's interested in her? Well, she's obsessed with the master. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Wasn't her mother a bit... Very much no, Samoan. You know, not right in the head. It probably runs in the family. Emily had looked mad. Her eyes had burned with malice for her as she had closed her fingers around Catherine's neck. But she couldn't remember if that had really happened. Sister was always kind to her. She would never ever hurt her, even when they got into fights. Sister loved her. Am I turning mad? I have the blood of a mad woman. Am I going to end up like her? I only told her the truth. Guillaume doesn't care for her. And she doesn't even care for him that much either. It was all just chaff, the relationship. No sense making everyone else miserable, too. But she called me jealous and a bitch. She has never called me a bitch. I was spoiled, she said. Sister had to start work so young, but I got to laze around and play piano all day. She said they had decided to send me away. My lessons sent home. The piano replaced. It was for my own good, she said. I don't have to travel here all the time. I can concentrate on my other endeavors. I can make new friends. But I know she just doesn't want me near the chateau or Guillaume. She hates it when I catch her with him. Perhaps this morning was the last straw? She hates it, but she also smirks at me when I see them. Like she basks in it. I think I might hate her. Catherine's thoughts ran through her head like a storm. They poured out at her aimlessly. I wonder if the piano is broken. Am I going to pay for it? What will become of us without Sister's wages? What of Father's medicine? What of my dreams? Sister can't be dead. Sister can't be dead. Catherine brought her fingers to her lips and nibbled on her thumb. She didn't notice this. Her mind was preoccupied. She cowered in her corner of the wall, biting her fingers. It was a tiny comfort in a rapidly collapsing world. Guillaume opened the door and found Emily lying on the floor. An ugly gash broke the skin of her forehead. Facing the wall was Catherine, shivering like a leaf and viciously devouring one of her fingernails. He approached her cautiously. Catherine? Rosa let out a gasp at the grisly scene. Emily's lifeless eyes stared up at nothing, while Catherine pressed herself into a corner. What had happened after she had left? Rosa, will you call for help, please? See that someone checks on Emily. Rosa did as she was told, her eyes on the broken, shaken Catherine. She wished she could comfort her friend herself. Guillaume took a small step towards Catherine. He called out her name slowly, coaxingly. Hey, Nessa Jen! Alright. Tweety now just starting to harass my viewers, so never mind the timeout. Full on block now. Catherine turned her head, her thumb still on her lower lip. It was an accident, I swear. Of course it was, Catherine. Of course it was. She pushed me first. She wanted me sent away. She wanted me gone. You can tell me about it later. Let me take you away from this room. What have I done? Catherine fell to her knees and wept. Large sobs sucked the air out of her lungs. She felt like drowning, trying to keep herself afloat in between sobs. Every exhale was a squeezing pain in her chest. Guillaume's arms wrapped around her. What have I done? What have I done? You didn't do anything, dear. This is not your fault. There was a bitter bulge building up in her throat, and she felt no amount of crying could push it back down. What am I going to do? Father is... Sister... I'm so scared. Guillaume's arms wound tighter around her, and she clutched onto his arms in this vast sea of fear. You don't have to be. I will always be by your side. Catherine, I will take care of you and your father, all right? You don't have to worry about your future. Her tears soaked his shirt through, but the squeezing in her chest felt less painful. Why? Why do you do this? Why do you care so much for me? Guillaume's brows furrowed, as if confused that she even asked. I just do. It was a boldly stated fact, as if painfully obvious, as if Catherine was a fool for not knowing it. It made Catherine's heart expand in her ribs. When she looked back, she would recall this as the moment she fell in love with him. The look in his eyes was reassuring and strong. She wasn't alone. She was going to be all right. Let's get you away from here. He supported her arms and stood her up, careful to block the view of her sister from her eyes. He led her to the door. Catherine hated how fast her relief came. She was still drenched in sorrow at her sister's death. Her father would not take well to the news, especially in his health. But she was all right, and she hated it. Rosa was with her. She didn't have to leave her piano, her dreams, him. Nothing had to change. And most importantly, she hated the voice that came whispering in her head over and over again. Thank goodness she's dead. Thank goodness. All right. I think that we're at a good place to end the episode, actually. I'll go until I reach chapter break. Shouldn't be too long until we reach chapter break. The first candle is lit. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good. I think that's actually a really good place to end it because that is a pretty that is a pretty fucked up scene. So that's a really fucked up scene that just went ended. So I feel like good place to end it, and we'll pick it up next week. Uh, I'm glad that people are enjoying it because it's like I said, it's a really good it's a really well told story. I think I find it to be just a really well told story. No, Dandy. Nah, situation. It's time for me to end the stream because I haven't eaten yet, so I need to get myself some supper. Need to figure out what I want to have for supper. Um, yeah, like I said, I'll be back next week, next Saturday. Uh, I will try to come on once I get home from my mom's. I'll try to come on for a stream tomorrow, even just a short one. It might be late. It might be pretty late in the night, pretty late in the evening that I get home. Um, I haven't decided yet, Ivana. So but I'll try to get on. I'll try to get on tomorrow night as well. Might be late, and it might be a shorter than usual stream, just because it is probably going to be late when I get on. But yeah, I'll come by tomorrow. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll